button.
We are live.
I guess when I said it, it was on.
It was on already. Hi everyone, Zach here with the CG Boost team. We have Marsha here, Martin, say hi, and Egon.
Hello.
And yeah, Daniel, he is from Australia. He wanted to join, but I guess it's still too early over there. So maybe he will join a bit later. Let's see. So yeah, in this video, we want to review some cool artworks from the last Mythology challenge. So these here are all the submissions we want to check out. And this time, I did not pick all of them randomly. I actually sent out a newsletter and asking people, like the first 5 sending in a reply, we will cover here. So 5 of them are from the emails, and then I also picked 5 randomly from all submissions. And we also have the 3 winners down here, which we also have a look at. So, just a quick check. Please let us know in the chat if you can hear us well. So, but anyway, I just continue here. Before we get started, I want to show you this cool thing here. So Elie was one of the guys which we critiqued in the last live stream. And this was the image we critiqued. And then a few days later, he just sent us this image where he took our critique and tried to improve his image. And I think this really shows that taking like critique and feedback can really help you to push your artwork to the next level. Because if you compare it, here we have a much clearer focus on the main subject here. He added a lot of details. The background is not so distracting anymore. So I think this is a great improvement. Yeah, and if you do something like this, like improve your artwork after our feedback, then don't hesitate and share it with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only thing about this change that he made, that I love it all, especially the water on the glass is awesome. But now it's not that apparent that the scene behind the glass, behind the window, is actually the same as the one inside of the glass container. So that would be my only criticism. But seeing a change like this is awesome. So thank you.
I mean, for me, I think it's subtle. You can still see like this green tower here. Let me pick the pen here. So here the tower, and here you can still see it. So sometimes I think it doesn't have to be like super obvious. So it can be subtle, so you can explore the image a bit more. So in my opinion, this is totally fine. But of course, there's always something to improve. Anyway, let's start with the first image here, which was submitted by Karl. So let's zoom in here a bit. And Marsha, let's start here with this image.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is that our concentration is like driven to not to the subject, that should be the sword, but to the flames that are on the side of the image. So I would probably at least like put some kind of rim on the sword, so it's like illuminated well, so our attention is immediately grabbed by the subject and not by the other elements. And maybe I would kind of make them less like bright or something. I don't know, something like this. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, definitely. It's as you say, basically the object that should draw attention should be not necessarily the brightest, but it should stand out, especially when you go far away from the image and squint your eyes. So that's what I always do when I want to test that my artwork works. Not always does my artwork work, but in this case, I think that when I go far away and squint my eyes, You are right. The fires are drawing too much attention, so more lighting on the sword would help.
Yeah. And also, I don't know, maybe there should be something behind the sword also. I mean, there is this arc and all the elements around, but here there is like totally empty space. I would expect to see at least some kind of wall or maybe a vegetation behind the arc, or I don't know, anything. In this way, it looks like there's nothing, absolutely nothing over there. So it's kind of strange. And also, I would put this light thing is pointing like, whoops, like in this way. It's pointing like somewhere here. I would make it point somewhere here, like more close to the sword itself. Okay, I'm done.
Anything to
Yeah,
add?
there's also one thing which kind of distracts me. So that's the background of the sword, but I would be okay if it's darker behind it. But still, I have major problem with this arch here. As you can see that the position of the sword and the camera, it's intersecting. So the arc here and this cross section on the sword, they are exactly on the same level. So both shapes are kind of fighting to each other. So would we have to better to have just a little bit different angle? So maybe the arc will be here, just closing the whole sword, or maybe a little bit lower like here. So just giving it again a little bit different perspective. But this way, when we have these lines here, it's kind of disturbing. So it's the minor thing, the angle of the camera, but it can change a lot in the scene. And I just agree with the rest of the comments we had about the highlighting the sword, just to have it as a major hero object here, because now we have, like Masha said, we have the flames. They are like very prominent, and the major point of this whole art, it's kind of hidden in the background. So those are things I would as well improve.
Yeah.
A comment from the chat. You can solve a big problem by just moving the fire into the background to the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
This might be a solution.
this would maybe also give some interesting light shadows on the wall to better see the textures there. But yeah, I think this pretty much sums it up for this image already. So the major highlight should go on the sword and playing around with the arc here in the background a bit to better see the shapes of the sword.
We forget to praise the artwork. So, the sword is nice. I like the hilt. I like the details on it.
Also, the
I
fire
even
looks
like.
nice.
Yeah, I think it's 2D. I don't know. I may be
Maybe.
wrong.
Yeah, also because the shape of the two flames looks like it's like similar, so maybe. Anyway,
But that's not wrong, by the way. That's just
yeah, exactly. Not bad.
and
Also, the wall behind looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, technical wise, it's pretty great, definitely. I think it's just some improvement in light and a little bit of a camera angle, all in all.
Yeah.
The rest is great, definitely. So, great work, Karl. Let's go to the next one, which was submitted by Parag, if I pronounce his name correctly. So, yeah, Egon, do you want to start here?
Well, I was checking this picture this evening to getting ready for our live critique. Somehow it's very interesting. We have like a pretty good story here, but still I have probably the basic problem I have is with the composition. It's not the bad, but this very wide angle, it's kind of drawing your eye to the left, to the right, and you are deciding like what's going to be the main focus. So I believe if we narrow down this image like this, something like this, we will get more story, because the rest to the side is not that important. and we will just frame it better, because like this closing like cave or something the guy is coming from, it's nice element. We can repeat the same with the stone here, just to give it some dynamics on leading the eye here, which works well here. I would just probably do the different cropping, because right now we have a lot of different elements. There's a busy background, which is cool, but there's like some parts of the background that are not that important. They are just driving us away from the story. Otherwise, I like it. Maybe it would be nice to have more details in the foreground. We have extremely blurred some kind of vines here, or ivy, or just a green stuff in this area. It might be good to have it a little bit more defined. For me, this depth of field is too much, maybe. But it's not necessarily wrong. I would just like to see it better, because it's interesting to have something nicely defined in the foreground as well. And maybe, yeah, the same repeats here. Like the focus is very defocused here. So maybe just those little things. Otherwise, the image, the quality, the coloring, it's cool. I like the strong and like very prominent colors of the guy here. It really draws your eye. And the pose, maybe he's like amazed what he sees in front of him, or he's just traveling somewhere. But the story in this image is pretty good. There's not many things I can really say are bad. There are just like some small things I would improve. Probably mostly the framing. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I also really like this image. Great storytelling, and also composition-wise, I think it's pretty good all in all. I also don't mind the cropping too much, so we have a wider view here to really see like how big this valley is. But yeah, this is of course personal taste. So for me, the main issue of this image is the brightness of the highlights. So for me, it looks a bit like blown out on the white parts everywhere. So I would like push this down a bit in a image editor, something like this. And some little technical things, like here, for example, you can see the transition from the two different rock materials. Here you can see the repetition of the tileable texture, for example. And yeah, these are the minor things. Maybe the rock quality, the texture quality could be improved a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, to be honest. Masha, do you have anything else here?
Yeah. I actually have also some consideration about the texture. Like, for example, in this part here, we can like the green texture looks like a bit fake. Maybe because it's too green, or maybe because the switch from one texture to another is like too immediate, like it's not smooth. So maybe it should be improved in some way. Also, I think that the city is a bit empty, so I would add like some more life to the city. And also the front rock texture looks like it's a bit fake, because there are some parts that should be like bumped a bit more, but they're like look a bit flat and also stretched around, so I would improve that part as well. Actually, in general, I like a lot this image. I also saw this image evolving in time on our community, and it was so cool. And I saw actually all the effort behind this image, and I really want to say that the guy did a great work on this. So well done.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, so mentioning the community, we have our community. There's also a link down below in the video description where you can submit your work in progress renders for the challenge. And there are other people, and also we from the team are there to feedback and critique your artwork. So we are not only doing this live stream here, sorry, but also like all the time in the community. So yeah, I think this guy here really made use of this. So, and by the way, this he also won an honorable mention in this challenge, which is pretty nice. Martin, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, all the important stuff was already said. I myself voted this piece to be in my top 5, so I really loved it. I was watching it develop on the community, and I'm really glad how it turned out. Maybe what was not mentioned for me, the biggest problem is the empty city. Unless it's part of the story behind the image, I think there should be some people, some activity, maybe some roads leading to it. That would be nice. And yeah, the blown out parts, the really bright parts of the image are bothering me too. Otherwise, I really like it. It was one of my favorites for this competition. I also like that the character in the foreground, which was the problem of many of the pieces of this competition, was that the foreground character was not detailed enough, at least problem for me. And this one I really like. It's interesting with the color and the detail, the beads, the neck. Yeah, nice piece. Congratulations.
Yeah, totally agree here. So let's go to the next one from Elie. So let's see. Something like this. Yeah, so Egon, do you want to start here?
Well, I will start again then. Yeah, this one is really interesting. I really like it. From the first sight, I was looking at it more about the story. What I really appreciate on this one is that everything is done with the shades of the colors. It's not like color contrast. It's not going about saturation. Everything is about the white and dark balance. So it gives us a good story. As I look at it, it's very detailed in every aspect, which is cool. I'm somehow only having the problems with the stuff in the foreground here, which kind of like it's very detailed, and at the same moment it's hard to read what is there. So for me, it would be nice if it's like even like closer to the camera, so it gives us like bigger like crop of the image, so we will see more details and maybe some stuff on the other side, so will lead us all the way to the point. But those are just the minor things again. It's only the question of how to put the composition of it. But I like it on one side, and because all of it is central, I would really enjoy it if it's on other side as well, and it gives us the lead to that some kind of Norse god or whatever god is that. I also like the weather effects here. They are like convincing at least to me, because we see that snow blizzard. It's kind of sad that we see it only in the background. We don't see the snow effects and that really harsh weather in the front. And then maybe what would be nice to have those characters, because they are also the part of the story, to have them a little bit closer to the camera, because this way we see the prominent god, we see the countryside, which is the landscape is beautiful. And I would also like to see more of those people. I know that's probably they are already leaving someplace and going further, but they seem to be detailed, so I would like to enjoy more of details on the picture. Otherwise, this one is very nice. It has a very good mood, and I really enjoy that there's sometimes less is more. So in this case, less colors, it's more for the story.
Yeah, I also like this image. It's highly detailed, which is maybe a little bit of the issue here. So what I like is that we can see the silhouette of these two characters pretty nicely. They are pretty dark, so we can clearly see that like this is the focus and this up here is the focus, but he is a little bit like washed out. So this is just like a secondary detail, although it's so big. However, I find that the whole area here on this side and on this side is a little bit too detailed, like too much contrast for my eye. And then we also have these little black spots here and there, which makes it for me a little bit unsettling in these areas of the image. Like the center part of the area of the image is pretty good, I think. But here, I'm not sure if like just darkening these areas a bit would help already, or making the foreground blurry. Yeah, this is like the major thing I would say here. And maybe the big creature up here looks a bit too glossy in for my taste. But yeah, this might also just be a personal thing here. Masha, anything else?
Yeah, I agree with you guys about this part, that maybe it's too dark or maybe too detailed. I mean, it kind of grabs the attention from the main subject in some way. So I would probably try to adjust this by smoothing the contrast by putting some snow on the trees, so they look more like white than dark. Also because during the when there is so much snow, usually the trees are really snowy. They have snow all around them and so on. So usually they're not so like naked. I don't know how to tell this. So yeah, this, and maybe it would help to use another species of tree, like this species that has like white trunk with some black stripes on it, so it would look less contrasty for the scene in general. So this might help as well. For all the other things, I kind of agree with Zach. Maybe the mountain, it should be like a bit more defined, where with like maybe more uneven surface and so on. So this could be also helpful for the scene. And I think that's it. All the other things you already told. So, yeah.
All right. Martin, anything as environment expert?
Well, it doesn't stand up to my squint test. Like when I go far away, there's too much stuff going on. I can't really, I don't really know what to focus on. But I think that maybe a little bit more vignette that would cut away from these sides over here, as you guys mentioned, darkening this whole area on the sides, bringing attention to the center. That would probably be nice. Connected to it, if the author used some spotlights, basically like pointing at these areas and these areas in here, maybe with some secondary spotlights, bringing out, for example, these areas. That would be much better than having this sort of light that goes all over the scene. I know there's a lightning going on, so that fills your scene with light pretty much the whole thing. I know, but still, I think bringing out at least some of the spaces that are important with some spotlights would be nice. Also, I think there's some, this is begging for motion blur here.
Please.
Please blur me. And as well, this area in the back, even if you have like landscape photos or landscape pictures, it's always good to blur your far distant background a little bit, because that's usually what happens on photos, and we're so used to it that doing it in 3D renders is a good idea too.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Then let's switch over to the next one, which was submitted by Otto. So, and now we don't start with Egon. Masha.
Okay. Okay, the first thing I see here is, as we already said for the first image, is that we have like I don't have the focus point here too much. I mean, my eyes don't know where to look. Like first I look here, then here, then here, then I look at this stuff going up here, and then here. Like my eyes keep switching from one side to another, and I don't know where to focus actually. So I would probably choose a subject for this scene and try to focus the attention. Maybe this should be the subject. I don't know. This is up to the author to decide. Anyway, let's assume that this is the subject. So I would try to maybe point some lights over here and so do things like this. And try to maybe darken the other areas, or anyway construct the scene in the way we can, like we have somewhere to look, because in this way right now we're looking like all around and have no focus point. Yeah, I would also maybe change and add some resolution to snow textures here. And I really like how the fire looks. It looks really realistic. And yeah, also here the texture should have more resolution. And this mountain has some kind of a strange like shape. I would maybe make it to more pointy in some parts, make it look like more, I don't know, with angles and so on. Yeah, that's it.
So, like for nearly each image, we say there needs to be a focus point. So, Egon, can you maybe explain why we are looking for this focus point in an image?
Yeah, well, the focus point we want to have, it's some part of the image where the story happens, actually. The story can happen in multiple places, actually, but usually there is some conclusions, that's some climax of the story, and you need to put it, your eye to lead it through the image to some part. So like Masha said, here, I was having the same problem. My eyes is just like jumping everywhere, and I'm not sure what's the focus point. It can be this castle, sure. Then would be nice that everything would lead the same way. Maybe the fires would lead that way. Maybe we'll have some, like on the previous image we would have a storm, and maybe there'll be some like lightning, just drawing the attention to it. But here, the focal point, the point of the story is kind of missing. We are just assuming what the point is. Actually, I liked different elements on this image, but I couldn't make up my mind what's really happening. So there is no like light direction, or maybe the shape direction. Maybe the cave would be like this, so we can just draw our eye here. Or there might be a lot of different visual clues. They will lead us somewhere, but because of the whole scene here, it's kind of like dark. There is no highlighted points except those like I don't know, fire spots, or I don't know what exactly is at that. Maybe it's like the guiding light. So, but that's not the focal point. That's only the point of interest, and actually it doesn't give us anything to the story. So we look here, and then we are just thinking, okay, we have a fire here, but why? Then we have a castle. We have these floating things with the runes, but I still don't see where the story is happening, and I don't see any clue which will lead my eye. So that's something what we are looking for. We are looking for clues to drive us through the image somehow, maybe like this. It can go this way, but we just need to have some clues as the bystanders to guide us through the image, and that's probably the weakness of this image, that we don't have any clue where to go.
Yeah. So the question is also why? Why are you adding this castle? Why are you adding these like crystal shapes over here? So right now we are looking at the castle, okay, then we have this fire here, but there is no real connection we can see between all of these different elements. So the story is like we are looking at the castle, and then we are looking maybe at the not so highlighted crystals here, and we somehow see a connection between these two, or something else which is happening here. On a technical side, I also find a little bit problematic that there are so many different kind of color themes here. So we have this orangey color, which is totally fine, but then here we have this more grayish color, and then here this blue transitioning over to the green, and then we have this very strong crystal color here. So from the artist perspective, it's of course totally fine to use different colors. For example, we can use this orangey color in the front here, which gives us a bit more warm feel. But then I would probably transition over to one other color here in the background, maybe this green color or this blue color, to make it not look too random. Also, I guess these crystals are like super important for the story here, but I think this is the element which disturbs me the most. If this would be removed, I think the image would look already much more pleasing, and maybe make the castle like a little bit bigger here, place it somewhere here. I don't know. This is just my opinion here.
Yeah.
Martin, anything to add?
Well, you've bashed the piece, so it's my
Say some good things.
my turn to say something nice. I appreciate the birds, of course. Adding birds to your environment scenes, that's always a good idea. The only thing...
Why, Martin? Why do we need birds?
Well, it makes everything at least 10% more cool, so yeah.
I think it gives some relationship to scale.
Life to it. And yes, relation to like scale compared to size of us people, because we see birds, so we have at least rough idea of how big things are, because we can compare regular birds to human size. But these are too big, I think. So I would definitely make more of them, but make them smaller. Make like a flock of birds. Also, I appreciate the use of Aurora Borealis. That's such a nice effect. Though definitely too intense in this piece. I would definitely tone it down. And I love the material of the crystals. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that I really like about the piece. Yeah. Otherwise, I think everything's been said. Maybe this area over here comes out really strongly out of the whole piece. The whole piece is somewhat subdued. You actually up here you can't see a thing. It's just really dark. And then suddenly this piece, that's not even the focus of the story of the picture, is coming out very strongly out of it. So I would definitely darken it. So yeah.
Just again to say, like, from a technical point of view, I think all these different elements, looked at them separately, are really good, like the modeling and shading and so on. It's just like how they are combined, which feels a bit off to me. Yeah. Anyway, this was from Otto. Let's go to, okay, this name is a bit harder to read. Olatubosun. Something like this. Here we have it. Oh, there's a Cybertruck. Egon, do you want to say something to this image?
Yeah, the Cybertruck, this struck me too. It took me a while to find it, but it's probably some Easter egg from the author. I was thinking about this because I've seen like a lot of different story here. It's believe some like rephrasing of the Greek mythology about Medusa in some kind of robotic like future way, because we can see that construction of the statue. It looks very futuristic, so it's interesting. The colors for me are like, well, I will start it differently. It seems like a lot of different techniques has been combined here. I can see the sculpting techniques, hard surface for the head. then I see really cartoonish colors in the front. So I'm kind of like fighting the first with the scale because I see extremely small Cybertruck, huge, very, very prominent purple flowers. And then we have this almost disappearing hero asset, that mythical Medusa. And it's kind of foreground here is prevailing in this image. It would be much better if there's like a less saturated foreground because it's drawing a lot of attention, and I believe that's not the point of this image. I believe the main focal point, and we are back again to the focal points and trying to tell the story, it's here. And there's another problem that we have cropped image here, right here. We have a lot of foreground in this area, which is not giving us the story. It would be okay if we have more room at the top, but we don't. So definitely, I would what I would do personally, I would go lower with the whole statue, just to give it like more room above those snake tentacles, to give it like much more room and to make it like a prominent figure in the central composition. Then we can go lower with the foreground, and also I would go much lower on saturation. It's very bright and also cartoonish, and it fights with the background. Then we see the it's probably only like the composition of the sky. It has different proportion than I would expect. The clouds are somehow like off the perspective and kind of different angle. You can really see it here. So I would rather use only like subtle blue background, just to give it again much more room to breathe for the statue. The clouds are okay, but they are also a little bit tricky. If they are not well executed, it can somehow like not totally ruin, but it can lower the quality of the image. And here I'm like fighting with some parts of the image which are awesome, like the statue, I like it. And then I'm fighting with the Easter egg here with the cartoonish colors and the sky. So again, it's similar like in not all of our critiques, but we do it quite often. The composition, that statue needs to be balanced more in the picture. Probably the lighting, so we would be more prominent because now the foreground draws the attention, and also the color balance. That's something, each one of those aspects, it's always making the image. And if one of those aspects is not perfect, it's always lowering the other parts of the image the artist made, and they can be beautiful, they can be really nicely done. But if it's not in the balance, it always lowers the final perception. So that's probably what I would say about it.
I always find it hard to critique these more abstract artworks because you don't really know what the artist had in mind when creating this. So it's a little bit harder to apply these typical like composition rules and everything here. So I agree with what Egon said. One thing that also comes to my mind is that maybe the pose of the character here of the statue could be changed a little bit. So this lower part has a bit more bending over here, because right now it feels a little bit as if she would fall over to the side. So this is something I would probably adjust a little bit. Besides what Egon said, there's not pretty much I can add here. Yeah. Martin, Marsha, anything?
Yeah, I agree with what Egon said about the two fighting styles. Like here we have some kind of more realistic style, while here we have like super cartoony and super stylish color. So I would probably try to make it more coherent, like maybe try more realistic colors over here, or maybe make this Medusa a little bit more cartoonish. I don't know. I would try to make something like this. And in general, as Zach said, is pretty hard to judge this kind of artworks since they're super abstract. So you don't know even this kind of fight between styles. Maybe it means something that we don't know. But in this case, we need some key to read this kind of stuff. Also, I would like to add one thing. Actually, I didn't notice this car when I was checking the submissions, but actually you are not allowed to like use things that are covered by copyright. So I guess that this style of car is covered by copyright. So
Masha is on you.
yeah,
I guess it's probably a gray area here, legal gray
yeah.
area.
Yeah, I
But
believe.
anyway, pay
Mhm.
attention to this kind of things because you might be excluded.
I think it's some kind of Easter egg, which is kind of funny. And maybe it's also why we are so confused because it's giving us the perception of different scale. Because we roughly know how the Cybertruck is big, and when we see it with the plans, then maybe that's why I
Yeah.
was so confused about the scale. Because when I see the flower in the Medusa hand, it makes sense, like compared to the image if I take out the truck. Yeah, but if the truck is there, it's something is really wrong with the planet. But it's cool. Like yeah, it's true what Zach said that the abstract art is sometimes hard to judge because we are trying to apply those common rules for something what is bounded by some rules, but the rules are not to be followed always. But
Yeah.
here, I wouldn't mind all of those combinations, but it would need to be like Masha said, more coherent. Then I would believe that everything goes together. Maybe even those photo clouds in the background would be okay for me if everything is it's said, okay, this is fake clouds, this is cartoonish, very cartoonish foreground, and this is a very realistic statue, and it's all
Yeah.
well placed together, then I probably would change my mind and I would be much happier because I would say, okay, there's author who put a lot of techniques and a lot of different visual styles together on purpose, but now I'm not 100% sure.
Guys, I
Yeah.
think we should be more high to judge this one.
Yeah.
It would help
Yeah.
for this one, but anyway, I think the fog in this area is kind of weird. I know that it's stylized, so it's very hard to judge. But the fog, I would maybe like make it less thick, and I would like to use this opportunity to really say that if you're picking photographs for the background clouds of your scenes, which in my environment course I do all the time, is really important to find the horizon line of the piece. So basically, you like have a rough idea where the horizon line might be. I don't know, maybe here. So you need to show the horizon there. There needs to be, I don't know, some mountains back there or something. Because now the cloud or the whole image is placed too low, and it almost looks like we're very high above the ground, maybe on some kind of plateau or something. And yeah, somebody's painting different clowns there. So
Igor.
yeah, and I agree. I agree. Because now if you place the clouds on the sides and make the Medusa stand out instead of having the clouds right behind her, that would be much better because our eyes would then be drawn into it. So yeah, what I wanted
Yeah.
to mention.
Okay.
This is the one piece I really would love to see to be redone, like the piece from the last competition. Because this piece, if it's done a little bit differently, like we just discussed, it might be awesome image. It just
Yeah,
needs a little bit of work, as we addressed here, and we can get totally different result. And I would really love to see this one redone a little bit.
agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Also, to one note to the author, if you decide to change this the style of this part here to realistic, don't forget to use different, like 4 different models for the flowers, so it's not so evident that they're copies of the same flower. Then.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have time. So the next one is number 6 by Noel, Thor's Hammer. I think it's not copyrighted. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I wouldn't like to make Thor mad.
Yeah.
So, who is a Thor fan here? Who wanna say something? Maybe the hammer is modeled completely wrong. There are wrong details. So for
Everybody
me,
loves Mjolnir.
yeah. So for me, I think the major thing is maybe the lightning shapes here, which distracts me a bit. I mean, of course, this can be cartoony and stylized, but then I feel the rest of the image is not fitting so well to this style because like the wall here at the background and also the soil stuff down here looks pretty realistic. And also like the smaller details on the hammer looks also more realistic. So I would probably go with more organic shapes. And it feels a bit that this is like super randomly placed. Here we could use the lighting very well to drive the viewer's eyes. So on the one hand, we could have this lighting going out of the hammer here, which then also gives us these lines which are kind of pointing to the hammer. And we can maybe even like have like a swirl of lighting. I know like lighting is not doing these shapes, but this could also help to drive the attention a bit better and not distract us into like all crazy directions here. Then the second thing is again the focus. Here, of course, the lighting is grabbing our attention immediately, which is good. However, we also have this light here at the bottom, which is also a bit distracting to me. And all in all, the wall here looks a bit, let's say, boring. Like the details are always or everywhere the same. So I'm not sure, maybe like having a vignette, like darkening everything around here a bit and maybe adding a little bit more depth to the image, maybe push the wall a bit further away and maybe add some more little rocks here in the background, maybe some cave details. It looks like this is some sort of cave, I don't know, somewhere here. And this would also visually give a little bit more interest to the background here. Yeah, and the last thing I want to add here is the handle of the hammer looks a bit stretched, but I might be mistaken. So I would love to see a little bit more details or different shapes. Like I'm not a Thor hammer expert, but maybe just some more interesting shapes here to make the hammer a bit more interesting to look at. This would be my comment here. Masha, anything to add?
Yeah, I would add that on the hammer over here, you can see these lines that are pretty typical lines of the cylindrical shapes when you have them in 3D. And in this here, I would add some shade smooth to the surface. In this way, it's not so like evident. For the rest, I agree on everything Zacharias said, and I don't think that maybe in the background I would add, like Zach said, something different, like maybe a cave that it's like continuous in its shape, and there is like more stuff around and so on, or maybe dark place, something dark around, and I don't know, something like this. And in general, like Zach said, I would change the shape of this thing here. And that's it. I think in general this image looks really good. I really like the details on the soil. I really like how the modeling of the hammer was done. Really great work. And I think if the author makes these few changes, it will look really great.
Yeah, there is a comment in the chat. Looks like the hammer has been carefully placed instead of being smashed in the ground. This is actually quite interesting because, like, we know that Thor's hammer is like smashed around, and we have this pile of sand here. So I guess it should look as if this were smashed here. Then I would probably place the hammer a bit deeper here inside the ground, and then having some piles of stuff going around here a little bit up to make it really look like this.
We can also add some like pieces of ground, I don't know, flying around in this way. It looks like it was just smashed.
Yeah, I think this piece really needs some depth of field effects, because these sorts of scenes where there is one object that you're focused on and the environment is not that important, they are really great for some sort of depth of field effects and bokeh effects. I think if there was some dust flying in the air and everything was blurred except for the hammer and the soil, that would make it so much better, because you would have all sorts of those like dusty shapes with the hexagonal bokeh effects, and that would like raise it's a simple effect, and it would raise it 1,000,000% better.
And then you don't have to like work out a big background scenery.
Yeah, so that's one thing that if the author decides to redo this, definitely the lightning and adding bokeh effect.
Yeah, I believe the whole scene can be done only with the hero asset, the hammer, and the soil. The rest of it is only that particles VFX, just magic in background, because that's only the object is important here. So I believe it can be very simple scene and very clean to read.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even making the background just black or something like this might help here. All right. Let's go to number 7 from Kevin. 7 from Kevin. So, Igor, maybe you want to continue with this one here?
Okay, I'm just trying to find out again what's happening in the scene. That's always when I start to think about the image, I'm trying to find the story in that. It looks like some kind of magical cave, and again, that's also why we are here. We see that we have so many points of the focus everywhere, and it takes me a while to find this hand with the flowing water, which can be really the main asset, but somehow it takes me quite a bit to find it. And at the same moment, we have this very, very empty area, like here. Oh, sorry, I don't have this pen. Like here, there's nothing happening. Here's nothing happening, and then we have everything happening on the right part. So in this scene, it would help to change the angle of the camera just to get the main focus on the hand. It can be the whole story can be about the hand and the flowing water, and then we can start to play with the lights. Also, there's a lot of clash between kind of realistic water and very, very simplified background, almost, I would say, without any texture. It looks to me like, actually there is some texture, but it looks to me that it's only like a little bit sculpted shape with some color. So there's also contrast of details. We have this this tunnel where the water flows from. It's detailed. We have this pathway detailed. We have this hand detailed, and everything else is I don't know if it's on purpose or maybe the author ran out of the time. It can happen as well, and he tried to finish it on time just to have it done, but somehow it seems unfinished to me. I would definitely dropped the lights everywhere because they are not giving us any light source anyway. Maybe these stars or dust behind this hole, it's also not necessary. I would just play probably more with the elements in the scene, dropping some lights, just giving it some maybe spotlight from here or from here. And also would be nice to see when we have this moon here, to see the light shining through that opening, because then we can lead our eye directly right to the point where we want to make the story. Yeah, so generally on this image, I would drop the distracting elements which have no particular use, or then use it like much darker and use them to light the background a little bit in some parts, but not everywhere, because now we have too many of them. Maybe this front one can be like dropped too. I would just leave maybe those ones on the side, and definitely would use the moon just showing us the element. And also when we play with the nature element of the moon shining through that opening, we can give nice shadow behind this hand. We can have nice highlights on the water, and it will also define the shapes much better. Now it's kind of like all blurred together, and playing with the light, even if it can be fake light, it might be coming from the side, but it's hard to to see that. But we need to have some contrast, like having highlights, having shadows, just to define the shapes. So definitely would focus on the main part. I would either put less details everywhere or put more details on the floor and the walls. And definitely we need to play with the light to lead our eye. Yeah, so this in this image I would sum it up as it's all about the balance. We need to have the balance of the light and the shadows. We need to have the balance of the detail and the detail of the modeling, because some parts are detailed, some are not. And it seems, unfortunately, it's a little bit unfinished. So a little bit more work and different play with the composition and the lighting. And then we can get a different image from this one.
Yeah. I agree. I think this line should say, like, we could like crop a lot in this image because like the hand is really what's important here. Or maybe there's a story element missing over here, which could be added. So the entire camera could also move a little bit more in this direction. And just to say this, I really like some of the modeling here, like the stones, this leaves over here. So I like this style in general. But yes, as Egon said, it feels a little bit unfinished. Maybe with a hand in the water, you could even create something where just these elements are in the focus or part of the scene, similar as for the hammer before, where you maybe have some more vertical composition, and then here playing around with the water or something like this could also be very interesting. And all in all, what I can see here, that the image is way too dark in my opinion. I mean, the lightning effects here, the energy effects are pretty nice. They are glowing nicely. However, the rest of the image is like very dark gray, which is really hard to read. Yeah. Martin, Marsha, anything here, or should we move on?
Yeah, I actually, something that makes me feel like a bit uncomfortable is that my eyes, when they are guided towards something, they got stopped. I mean, like here, we have a line that make my eyes goes over here, and here there's nothing going on, so just a wall. So I think that if this is intentional, I would probably maybe add some kind of angry eyes here or something like this. In this way we have just like a bit more storytelling and so on, if you want to keep this composition. And another thing that I find a bit disturbing is also that my eyes get guided over here, but then I feel like there is this hand with the water and so on, but I don't understand if this is some kind of, I don't know, life whale or something that I should do something with this. I don't know. I don't see the point of the story and that's going around this part. So it feels like I get blocked and then nothing happens. So I would probably try to add some more storytelling around this, like water fontaine, or I don't know what is that, and maybe add, I don't know, some kind of something that tells me what's happening there, or what's the point of the story. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
It just feels as like half the story was told and then the other half is missing somehow.
Yeah, like in a game, you're going to the space where you should do something, but there's nothing that tells you what you should do to like solve the mystery and go on. Things like this.
Yeah.
The completionists in us are disturbed.
Yeah. maybe it all seems like there was not enough of the time, because maybe this pathway was meant for somebody coming to it with some purpose, maybe going for the water with some up just to bring it like life water or something, or maybe they were going to praise to the water. So maybe this pathway had some purpose, but it's like hard to see if this was the purpose or not, because like I said, it seems to be unfinished. Maybe this should be much more happening. Maybe the queue of people going for some remedy, for some health potion or something. So who knows? It would be like many approaches how to finish this, but definitely it needs to be, at least to my eyes, there should be more story in this kind of the image, or there should be a different story, like Zach said, cropping the image and maybe just to focus on the hand here with the light and some magic happening here. So there are many ways how to finish this piece, but that should be the one way which is like done all the way.
Yeah, one thing to notice here, when you realize, okay, you maybe don't have the time to do everything you have in mind, maybe you can take the image and do something else with this. As mentioned, maybe just focus on the hand and make some water effects over here or something like this.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on here so we don't talk too long about one image. The next one is number 8 by Sebastian. So let's zoom in here a bit so we can see it nicely. So Martin, this seems to be a lot of environment stuff. Maybe you can say something about this.
Well, the ship is awesome. It doesn't have like too many little details, I think. Again, there was this awesome presentation on Blender conference, and I always forget.
Alexandrov.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. So that's a great presentation that talks about the balance of small, big, medium, and small pieces on your models. And this ship maybe deserves a lot more small pieces, because I see a lot of big shapes and medium shapes, but not enough small details. So that would definitely improve the ship, in my opinion. And I think it also deserves some more type of rock, because I think I see a lot of repetition in the boulders here. It may be the same stones all over the plane, and then there is just one hill here. Is it the environment course hill? No, I don't know. It is definitely nicely put together. The environment looks very nice. So all the more like weird is this area over here, because it's lit as if it wasn't even a part of the whole artwork. There is this weird green light coming from somewhere, and I don't know what's causing it. There is this very strong, like a rim light on the character, and I'm not sure what's causing that either. It's almost like here there is some sort of another spaceship or some sort of technology lighting the character. But if you have a very strong source of light like this, you need to justify it in your artwork. You need to show at least a little bit like there's a machine that's giving off light and it's lighting the character over here. So yeah, the thing is, I really love the artwork except for this piece in the very foreground, because that feels like a part of a different artwork.
Yeah, I feel that this front part here could also be moved a little bit to the side. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Zach, that there is even sun here, and it's not lighting the piece. So that's weird.
Maybe it's the moon.
Sorry, Zach.
Moon,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe the moon.
Yeah, sorry, moon.
Yeah.
I mean, this when the light here on the character would be white, this could be justified a little bit by the moon, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand what you mean with this light here at the front.
It's green.
Yeah. I mean, there could be some alien flora forest behind him, which is glowing. But I mean, this gives at least a little bit of room of like imagination on what is maybe behind him.
Yeah.
What I want to say that right now we have this big dark area here and we have this dark character. And here's a lot of empty space. So I would probably move the character a bit more to the side and maybe even the whole background thing also a little bit more over here, that we have the moon shining here, something like this, so they would not intersect here at this part, which is, I think, generally not a problem that things overlap a little bit. But here we have these two dark shapes which are kind of merging into each other at this point. Like when you squeeze your eyes, this whole shape becomes one thing. Yeah. And other than that, I mean, I like the idea or the feel that it's like an empty planet. There's not much going on except this ship, which is crashed there. Yeah, so I definitely like the mood of the image here. And of course, the details and the modeling and this background area. And what the image does very well, I think, is the horizon line and the clouds, which really nicely merge together here. And you can really feel and see the distance in the image. Yeah.
Yeah.
Masha, Egon, anything to add here?
Yeah, I actually would try to change a bit the shape of the pieces that looks like they are gone from the ship. They look super square everywhere.
Deleted faces.
Yeah, exactly. They're too perfect. They should be a bit more randomly shaped or so. And also I see all these missing pieces, but I don't see here there should miss a big piece, something like
I mean,
this.
there is something on the ground here when you look closer.
But it's
Everywhere.
not big.
Super small, and they're all the same shape. While here I would maybe put bigger pieces and so on, so it looks like they actually come from the ship, and they're different from each other, so it look more natural, because when something old start falling down into pieces, it never happens that all the pieces are super square and all the same. It's impossible.
Maybe they were moved apart and carried away. But this doesn't
There's
fit.
someone that always cleans all the
But I think
area.
it's not fitting the story, because it more seems that this guy is discovering this chip here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Egon, anything to add?
Well, I think that most of the stuff has been already said. It's just for me, I'm still kind of fighting with the scale of the scene, because the ship, at least to me, it should be quite huge, and we have those huge boulders everywhere. So, and I'm not sure about the size of it, but it's only maybe the perception, like of the perspective and the size. And I'm also, like Martin said, fighting quite a bit with this green light, which would be easy to justify if you have some like spaceship open here or something like Martin said, some light source which would justify that. And the last thing I would probably do, this whole hill looks kind of artificial to me. For me, it would be nice if it's some kind of like I don't know, mountain or rock formation, and it's above this whole area. I would probably just cut it somehow to give it some feeling of the height. Now it looks more like small hill, just made of the rocks. It would be nice to just to cut it a little bit. I need to probably get a different marker. You just cut it like here, maybe just to define it as some place which is quite higher than this whole area. Now it looks that it's almost on the same level with the background. But it's only minor thing. Otherwise, I really love the materials on the spaceship. I love the lighting. I don't mind the moon because the moon during the day it won't make any like lighting difference. It's on only this foreground part, which, as you said, if we move the character a little bit, if we move the this background mountain with the moon a little bit there, it would be just balanced and it would be just fine. Otherwise, the color balance in this image is awesome. I really like it.
I will have just one, or actually two little, or actually three little notes. The moon seems to be in front of the cloud, so that definitely should be fixed. Also, there is this very sharp point of the mountain, so I would definitely think of adding some more resolution there. And the last thing is the fog seems to be very intense, so I would lower the opacity of it a little bit.
Yeah.
I really
We
think
also
that.
have
Yeah.
Or it's just it's bright. I think it's too bright.
we also have some comments that are saying that the writing here should be like less white and more like consumed because the overall look of the ship looks really like old and scratched and
And
everything
rusty.
rusty. Yeah, but this area here is like almost new.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
I don't even know if everything is rusty, if there's anything left from the writing. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
if you go, I just zoomed out, and I think the piece works. And actually, when I zoom out, I think the most prominent thing that needs to be changed is placing the character a little bit to the right, as Zach mentioned, and kind of blending the foreground better. So focus on that if you decide to rework it.
Yeah.
Good. Let's move on to number 9 from Igor. So, Egon, do you want to start here?
Okay. Well, I like this one. It reminds me Uncharted series, which I really love to play. This is like good piece of mythology. What is quite obvious on this image is that the focal point it's kind of good because like it's a central composition. We have these sides which are kind of framing our point of view, and we have this main focal point here, which can be a little bit higher, but that's a minor thing. But right away in this we know where the story is. We see the character can be a little bit more prominent, maybe closer to us. So but in this way also we see the scale of the scene. But if it's closer to us, it would be good point of the story that the person just discovered the whole area here. So if we are like here, and the person is entering, actually, maybe two people are entering, it would be like good way to see they just discovered something. But also the character here works. It's just kind of pity that the character it's cut because if it's this far in the story here, it would be much better to have the whole figure shown to give us the perception that the hero is already walking in this area in the valley. It's somewhere halfway through and it's just heading to this discovery. So that would be nice to have either more room for the character here, or to bring the character really close to the camera, just on the verge of discovery. As I look closer to the temple, it's very detailed. It's nicely lit. On contrast, it's a little lower, resolution of the boulders around. There, they seem that they are a little bit different scale than the temple itself. But as I zoom out of the image, it doesn't bother me that much. It's the color balance, the camera angle, it works fine. It's only I have a little problem with this empty area here, which is totally not important for our story. We can cover it with another boulder. I like the vegetation, which also leads us somewhere in the image. The path here leads us also to the temple. The color contrast, and the lighting around the temple. This is nice example how to lead the eye in the image, just to give us the perception of some story. So there is not too much I would say it's bad. I'm only thinking about the little different resolution for boulder texture, and maybe placing the character a little bit. And that's probably only minor thing. As I said, I would just cover this area, as it's not important to even draw our eye more towards the center. Well, that's probably all what I can say about it.
Yeah. I also really like this image. I think it has a great composition. Here, if we think back of the Northern Light image we watched before, where we had these many different color schemes, here it's done very well, I think. Here we have these dark blue areas, which are out of focus, not interesting, but framing the whole image and giving us, also supporting the story that we discovered something between these rocks here. And then here transition slowly to a more purple look, and then here, where the most important thing is, the entrance to the temple, there we have this more orangey light. And even up here, the blue sky is a similar color as the rocks here, so it's also nicely covering the sides of the image. And this was also my first thought with a character that's too small, or it should be placed somewhere here where we can also see the feet, or just bigger, as Egon mentioned already. With the details, same thing. I also noticed the lower resolution rocks, especially if you compare it to these more detailed areas here at the front. So here we have a lot of details. Even the little tree here looks nice. So yeah, some more little medium and finer details on the rock would make it quite a bit better. And here on this ivy, I feel there's some kind of shadow missing in some areas. It feels as if this is floating a bit. But yeah, this is also just a minor thing to me. Otherwise, great image. Martin?
This actually looks like it's done in Unreal, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't really matter. But what I wanted to say about this, the historian in me has to say this. This is unless I'm mistaken, this is the ancient city of Petra. And it's really at least I think that it's really noticeable that this asset, it probably was I don't know, maybe bought from Unreal Market or anywhere else. It's just that I think, in my opinion, either if you are using it without any changes and really going with the asset as it's in its historical form, you actually should make the environment the same as it is in reality. If not, if you want to make it like a science fiction or fantasy scene, like here, these even feel like the guys from Stargate. Yeah, I think so. So I would recommend changing the asset at least a little bit so that it's not that noticeable that it's a historical area. So that's just one note that I wanted to say.
You're probably the only one who notices.
I know. Damn it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I
Marsha,
said my piece anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody just noticed it's not the Petra temple. Oh, sorry, Martin.
Is it not? Is it?
maybe
I'm looking.
inspired by it.
Maybe
I'm
inspired.
looking at the images of it right now, and it seems very much
Yeah,
to
okay,
be.
maybe this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will. Like I'm looking at Wikipedia, so it must be true.
All right. I think this gives some good info for Igor. Great art piece. And now we are going to number 10, Suparno Panda. Is this a real name? I don't know. Also, very nice image.
Yeah.
Marsha, do you want to start here?
This one is hard to critique. It's
Why?
really well done because it's really well done. I mean, I like so much the colors, the combination between this orangish light and the blue and the greens, and we also have this leaf variation that I like so much because many times the problem of realisticity, I don't know if it's okay, of an image is that the leaves of the plants are always have all the same colors, but here we have this nice combination of different colors, and this is cool. And I should think about what's maybe the composition, but I don't know. I think everything is cool in this image. I mean, I like also the composition because it really guides you pretty nicely through all the image. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks cool.
Yeah, for me, I also really like it. Do you have anything to say, Marsha? I don't want to cut you off here.
Maybe there are some structures like this ones that looks like they're about like to fall down because these columns are like super thin. They couldn't like sustain so much weight like of that part that is the upper part. They would break apart, I think, in real life. So I would probably change these parts. But I also see that there are some other parts that was done in this style. So maybe it's like stylish something that was chosen by the author in some way. So I don't know. Anyway, overall, it looks great. For me. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like first looking at it, it's also pretty awesome. Great work. The guy who made this is also in the chat, by the way. Oh, sorry. There's a frog in my throat. So what I like here is the sky. The lighting is nice and all these models. Some smaller things that come to my mind. When I looked at this image first, of course, we see this big statue here. This is probably something we look at first. It's pretty bright. It's highlighted. So if this is a focus of the story here, that's totally fine. But I think it's more about these two guys here. So, I mean, from the storytelling point, it's also interesting to first look here and then discover the other guys here. That's totally fine. What's nice about this here is that we have this fog or smoke in the background, which is like separating the background a bit from this character. I would love to see it here for this flying horse as well, to have this fog also a little bit more here to better separate this, because like if you squeeze your eyes, this here is blending pretty much with the rocks at the background.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, I'm not an architect, and this should probably be a fantasy city with these interesting structures here. But I feel that some parts of it, especially like these towers here and the towers Marsha mentioned already, are built in a different style than like the other parts. Here we have these more square shapes with these pillars. This one looks more like a church. So maybe the artist just took like random like architecture models and just put everything together. And another little thing I would change or improve are these flat areas underneath here, because it just looks as if this is a 3D model placed a bit higher. So to solve this issue, I would probably just add some ornaments here as we have over here. So to make this a bit more interesting, or maybe add some more pillars or something like this to make it look a bit more stable. Looks like it could fall apart quite easily, especially over here. But yeah, these are like very minor things I would mention. Otherwise, I really like this image here.
Yeah.
Martin?
Yeah, definitely a very impressive image, especially at the first look. Like, I'm again zooming out, and it works very nicely. But just as you mentioned, guys, the story usually is the most important stuff. So I would definitely give more space to this area over here, because even though this background stuff is super like impressive and there's a lot of detail to it, I am always more interested in what's going on here, because there are people, there's a horse or Pegasus, and I'm interested in what they're doing. And unless you have just an architectural piece where you focus only on architecture, if you have some sort of characters in your scene, they will always be, or at least to me, more important than the architectural stuff. So I would maybe enlarge this area over here. And this piece also is a great candidate for using spotlights, because now everything in this area over here is kind of like lit in the same way. But since you have so many clouds here, this really begs for some sort of soft spotlights highlighting this area here and this area here. I don't know, maybe this, yeah, this is highlighted. But everything else could be hidden by like cloud shadows, and it would really, really help to orient yourself in the piece. By the way, I really appreciate, or I love the fact that the author used the same statue that I bought for my Heroes of Bronze project. So this is a Zeus statue that I used. Only he actually added this big ass cup into his hand. So that's awesome. Yeah, super impressive piece. But if you bring out the story in it, it will be even more good. And please add more pillars here. I'm worried about this building here and the people in it.
By the way,
it seems that.
Sorry. Yeah, just so this part that Martin made me look, that this sculpture here is really different from the others from the quality point of view. I guess it's some kind of scan or so on, so it have less like details and it's a bit different. So I would move it to the background or make it more detailed at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in this image was a lot of kit bashing, which is of course good because you save a lot of time. And sometimes it's visible, like Masha just mentioned, that there is some probably scanned piece which has a lower resolution of details. Then we have this super detailed god here in the middle, which is okay. It'll be just probably wiser to place them accordingly to the perspective. So you would have less detailed or kind of blurred props in the background or somewhere where they are not that visible. There's a huge difference between the quality. Otherwise, the whole image has excellent color scheme here. It reminds the old masters. If you look at the Baroque or Renaissance paintings, that this is like nice technique playing with the light, just giving it a scene. You don't need to use a lot of colors. You just use a couple of them and their shades, and it works really well. The only thing I would do, and it's only just like personal taste, I would just probably crop this part of the image as it's not that important, and it's I would probably just move the sun here and do the same like we have here on this part, because this is like only a repetition of the elements we already have, and it would give us this small crop would give us more story to our scene. So we will concentrate more what's happening in the middle. But generally, this piece, it's a combination of a lot of techniques, and it's very well executed. And everything else the guys said before me about the concentrating on the main characters. I just like this one, and I thought it would be one of the Martin's favorite here.
Well, there were so many great pieces in this competition, so it was definitely in the I have this folder like for the best pieces, and it was there for a while, but then I had to like choose different ones that I decided are in my top 5.
Yeah, it was really hard this time.
It always breaks my heart a little.
Yeah.
It's
Mine
always
too.
hard to pick the winners.
Yeah.
All right, Suparno, awesome work. So that were the 10 kind of random artworks, and now we have the 3 winners down here. Diana, Kai, and Robert. So let's start with number 3. And one thing I wanted to show here is, one thing I want to notice on number 3 also, is when you compare it to the second and the first place, here we can see these very bright highlighted spots. However, when we zoom in here, this image, I think, could use some like value adjustments. So a little bit brighter high values and a bit lower dark values, I think. It's really easy to do in like Photoshop or something like this. But this would, I think, already improve this image a lot. Other than that, I really love this one. The creature work is really nice. The poses of the creatures and also all the little details. Maybe one technical little issue here is that the hair is going into the horns up here. But yeah, that's only a minor thing to me. Yeah. Masha.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say about the hair. That, like here, we see some kind of like resolution lack. Like this hair are not super smooth in shape. Also, also here we have like the same problem. They're not super smooth, and they look a little bit fake. Maybe also because they're like all the same. And they have all the same thickness, while real hair should have like some more thin parts and so on. So they look just a bit unnatural. Anyway, apart from that, I think this image is super cool. I think it's really well done. Maybe it's a bit too dark. Maybe there should be just a bit more difference between the background and the foreground, so the subjects would stand out a bit better, like especially in this area here, because here the subject stands out pretty well, but in this part here it kind of, I don't know, not get confused, but it could stand out a bit more, just a bit for me. Yeah, and apart from that, nothing to say. It's a great artwork. Yeah.
Martin?
Oh yeah, definitely one of the best works in this competition. It has that depth of field effect in it, and yeah, maybe a little bit of dust in the air would definitely help it. There is one dust speck in here, I think. But having a little bit more would help the cinematic effect. Also, just brightening up the stuff in the center and adding some vignette on the sides would that's something that could improve it very fast. But what actually bothers me the most about this one is the subsurface scattering. I think especially in this area in here. The skin doesn't really look like skin. To me, at least, it looks more like a sort of wax. So every time I get this sort of effect, like that, the subsurface scattering looks a bit weird. I lower the value of it, but second, in Blender 3.0, I think there's this new sort of scattering method called random walk fixed radius. It's like there's random walk and the other one that I never remembered the name for. And now there's a third one with fixed radius, and somehow that one works for every time I render human characters, I switch to fixed radius, and it works much better in my opinion. So you may try it. It's actually, the fixed radius method is actually intended for very thin objects, but from some reason it works for skin to me. So yeah. And only thing, except for you guys, for what you already said, there is this area here, and it almost looks like there's some sort of paint over, like there's a brush stroke in this area. Not sure what it is, but it stands out a little bit to me. So I would have a look at fixing it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's an interesting effect, but kind of looks more like an error.
Yeah, actually, from far away, it looks more like some kind of a whim or something. But
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
yeah, looking more closely, it looks like a mistake or something. Yeah.
Egon, do you want to add anything?
right.
Or Martin?
Well, there's not too much to say about this because it's really, really nicely done. The only two things, and you guys already mentioned it, some particles like the dust flowing in the air would give it like more depth, and I would appreciate if there is some kind of rim light coming from the side, so it will give us better contour of the characters. It can be just subtle, but it would really help draw out the shape. And also, if we have some fake god rays or particles in the air, it would also give us better play with the light. But that's only like making the good image or great image even a little bit better. That's nothing I will really criticize on this. I really like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great work, Diana. Let's go to Kai John Jim. Number 2. These are a lot of like particles, flowers.
Particles, I guess.
Particle flowers.
No, it looks like insects, maybe also.
Or maybe lilies flowing in the air.
Butterfly.
Butterfly.
Probably not.
No.
I didn't even notice the smaller birds in the foreground. There are even more swans or other birds. Nice. Yeah. I want to start here. Marty?
Well, if I may, I must say this one I picked as my like top one, like the favorite piece of. I love the detail. I love that even though, because a lot of pieces in this competition had the issue that the creators added a lot of detail, and somehow that detail made it chaotic. But what I really love about this piece, that there is so much detail everywhere, like these pieces here and the curtains and all of the lights here, but the water glints, of course, and none of it though make it chaotic. I know what the focus of the image is. I kinda get, well, I don't understand the story, but it immediately brings me in, and I want to know more. So that's awesome about it. The only thing that brought it a little bit too far with the detail is the fog here. It's too blown out. It's kind of dirty, if you know what I mean, at this point. So I would definitely choose maybe a higher resolution dust or smoke element, and also make it less intense. And also, another thing that kind of like bugs me about a lot of pieces in this competition. The character, the knight, seems. I'm not sure that it has details, but it seems like lower detailed than the rest of the stuff. Other than that, I just love it, and I can keep looking at this piece for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just this image reminds me, we were speaking earlier today about the focal point and about the leading the eye through the image. This is just awesome example how to do it, because we have all the lines coming to the story. We are just driving the viewer with everything, with every single line. We are bringing our viewer to the story, which is here. It works perfectly here, and it's also supported by the contrast, because we have this darker areas here, which are, even if they are lit by those small flowers or whatever it is, that they are still kind of hidden in a shadow. And we have this beautifully lit area in the center, so everything works here, just leading the eye through the image. And that's something we discussed before, and it's perfectly executed here, because every element is supporting the viewer just to give us the story, to lead the eye, to end up here and think, start to think about what's happening. Like, you are going to discover the details there, because you are already there and you are focusing on a point. So even we have so many different small elements, even bright elements here and everywhere, they are just flowing naturally and lighting naturally this whole scene. So this is the very good example how to use light, contrast, and color to lead the eye of the viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
In the discussion, Hitman, but there's a comment by Mark Dove. It's Hitman, but you're hunting birds. And also, there's a comment that is that a teaser for the new Dark Souls. Actually, it reminds me of Dark Souls. Somehow
Exactly.
the atmosphere is like it.
Probably how the knight is also posed reminds of that. Maybe the knight wanna steal the egg of the giant goose and has to fight it. What I really like is also, besides that, the focus point is totally clear. Like, you immediately look at the swan thing here, or goose. But then you start discovering, okay, there's this knight. There are some birds covered down here. Then you see the details in the glowing parts here. You discover that the image is going even further over here, and all these nice details all around here. But nothing of this, as mentioned before, is really distracting from the main piece. Even though we have these many thousands of little glowing lights here, it's still like a flow going on here through the image, which also kind of supports the composition. And these bigger elements also break this up a little bit, but it's not too distracting. If we would have like all these little glowing dots also in the air, this would be problematic, of course. But I think it is used very nicely, because I have seen images like this before with these lot of glowing sparks, but then this was just too distracting because they were everywhere. Yeah, and even like the shape of the swan is like guiding the composition. And this is, I think, what we had with the sword at the very beginning of the stream, where we have this bow going on here, but it was intersecting with the sword. And here it's nicely framing the goose, which is really nice. So to be honest, I don't have anything bad to say about this. Great work.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the author is also in the chat, by the way. Congrats, man. Great work.
Amazing.
Now let's go over to Robert, first winner. So I can imagine that this was a hard one between the first and the second place.
Yeah.
Because both are great artworks.
Yeah.
So, Egon, do you want to start here?
Yeah, I also, when I was checking the pieces for the first, second, and third place, I was looking at it, and I was just thinking how hard it is sometimes to decide, because they are all well executed. I would say they're mastered in almost every aspect. And what we are doing here, we are just trying to find the small points which can be improved for the piece which is already great enough, but sometimes it can be even greater. So that's what we are trying to achieve, to just give us some advice and to guide our viewers what can be improved, because what we are discussing for every image can be applied to other images as well. So this one is again great example how to work with composition, with colors, with the contrast, and with everything. So if I start, I really like this is very good color scheme. The only two main colors I like, those bluish tones here are used, and orange tones. Those complementary colors are great because they work well together. They are separating foreground and the background, which is perfect. The composition here, if we go like this, we are working with thirds. We have one focal point here in this third, second in this part, which is also a great way how to use the 2/3 compositions and to place each element in one focal point of the image, so they are not fighting each other, they are just playing together. So this is the great way how to do it. Also, the story is very well driven. We have this spear here pointing to this beast. We have the light coming from here. So again, and we have the perspective coming here. So every part of the image is going through the picture and leading us to what's happening in there. So that's again the way how to support the story with the perspective, with the placing the camera for the right angle, and also using the props, just giving us some direction, using the light to give us the highlighted place. So this is very well done here. And as we discover very quickly this snake beast, we can start to explore more. We see that somebody is stealing some important I don't know, what is this, a gem or some magic?
It's the egg. It's an egg.
Yeah, it's the egg. Yeah, now when I see it closer, it has those small dots, so it's the egg. For me, it was very rounded, so I was a little bit confused, but that doesn't matter. But the story works well because we start with the beast, and then we focus what's happening, and the story when we start at the top, the story goes again back to the main character. It's the contrast works well because the character it's using the contrast. Actually, we have nice contrast. We see the highlighted creature here, which is hiding in the shade, and then we see dark figure here, highlighted by the candles everywhere. So both elements are total opposite how they are described, but it works well because we see both are very well defined. There's maybe only one thing I would do. I would shift the camera a little bit down so we see less from the top. We will add a little bit more to the bottom, but it's a very, very minor thing. So overall, again, in this art, we can see all elements were like well placed together. The composition, the light, the color scheme, and the contrast, playing one character to be light, one character to be dark, and both are very well defined. Just using the candles in the background. Nobody cares that the candles probably won't be there, but it gives us the story, it gives us the shape and the 3D definition. I really like this one.
Yeah.
One little thing, when you sometimes think about adding details to your scene, you sometimes just add random stuff which is not supporting the story at all. I mean, the candles might be random and not so logical, like who is going there and light up all the candles, except maybe some people that are praising the beast so that it's not hunting them. But even having like these bones here is telling the story that maybe a lot of people already tried to steal the egg, and maybe there's something special to the egg. It's very valuable and precious and stuff like this.
I actually have the description, and the story was about some kind of proof that younger people did for like become a man or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. was so nice.
Yeah, it's just a small part, like just one sentence of a story, but it gives you so much more
Yeah, exactly.
atmosphere to the piece. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I have just one small critique to say about this. I really love the idea of the feathers on the beast, but since they are feathers and you can't turn them differently one from each other because they have to point in the same direction and they have to be always in this way, you can do like put them in this way or something. So it's super evident that they're copies, so scattered around. So especially for elements like feathers, I would probably make like a lot more different models to use. So it's a bit less like evident that they are just copies scattered around. Anyway, the overall look is super cool. I love the beast. I really loved how the eyes are highlighted, the skin. I mean, I would really love to look the time lapse reel of this of this
Yeah.
work because the beast is so cool. Everything is so cool, so detailed. The light is great. I mean, really great. I love this work. And but there was just this small detail I would change.
Yeah. Martin, do you want to add anything here?
Well, the amount of polish and stuff that's placed around the piece is just amazing. It is definitely in my top 5. So I think I wrote a review for this, or a comment for this, and I completely love the piece. The only thing that maybe, and again, is the subsurface scattering, but the skin on the boy looks a little bit plastic to me if I have a look at it very closely, and the amount of detail because if you have 2 prominent characters in your piece, and one is super, super detailed, like insane amount of detail, and the other one is kinda okay, but not that much detailed, that's a problem. And I think both of these should be on a same level. And also, I would definitely, and this I understand or realize that it's a personal preference, but I wouldn't make it so dark. I would maybe add a little bit of fill light on the character here so that it's not so dark in these areas. That's it. I love it. Yeah. I agree
Awesome.
with Egon cutting away the top and showing more of the bottom. But yeah, that's it.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice work, Robert, and congrats for the first place here. So that means we are through with 13 images. So I quickly switch over to full screen here. And here we are. Yeah, Daniel didn't made it this time. He's probably still asleep.
No. His wife actually had to be rushed into hospital with COVID. So
that's bad.
We wish speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. We had some questions. The next challenge, it's probably in February. I can't promise this at this moment because right now we are thinking on making some changes to the challenge. We will probably post something about our suggestions and proposals in our community, link down below in the description. Just to make it more inclusive, more open for everyone, and not so competitive, let's say. To make it more fun to join in. And we have some ideas on that. But I don't want to share some details yet. This still has to be discussed here in the team a bit more before we share some details. Sculpt January is currently still running. A few days more, like 11 days or 12 days left. So you can still join in if you're like sculpting and want to improve your sculpting skills. Check out our challenge page at The link is also below the challenge link. What is the next challenge? Somebody asked. We don't know yet. We will do a poll roughly 1 week before the next challenge starts. And then you can add your suggestions and vote for the topic. And then the community picks what comes next mostly.
Yeah, there's someone that is asking if we are going to do feedbacks on Sculpt January.
No, this is not planned. Like Sculpt January is a little bit different than the regular challenges. It's even more open, let's say. It's just like a month to practice and have fun. We don't pick any like winners or something like this. We pick some artworks which we like, but there are so many great sculptings out there, so it would probably end up with hundreds of artworks here. And it's not like the challenge where the participants create one artwork for the challenge. Here, everyone is like creating 31 artworks. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have a question about the poll, if it will be sent as an email.
Yeah, when you're on our newsletter, we will send this out through email, but usually also we share it on social media and so on.
Yeah.
So just look out for it in the next few days, probably next week or something like this. There should be the next poll if we are doing the next challenge in February.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a Wacom Intus Pro. I never could find some good tutorials of setting this up in Blender. Yeah, I also have an Intus Pro here. Well, I don't set things up in Blender. I just change some settings in the Wacom settings, but nothing super specific, only that I can use like the click here as middle mouse button click, because that's really important for navigation, and the rest usually stays the same. Maybe right click on the other button, but that's pretty much it.
By the way, as far as I remember, you had some kind of video where you explained how you set up your Wacom.
Yeah, it's in the sculpting course, actually.
Yeah.
So you have to pay.
You have to pay for it. I mean, I can set this video up to be free for everyone. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah, check out the sculpting course in the next days, if I remember to do that.
And there are another questions. Are you guys planning on doing, I guess it means doing portfolio reviews?
I don't think so. So really, we want to like combine everything we do here at CG Boost. So I think the challenge is a great way to improve your skills, and this also gives us some kind of context for these reviews. Otherwise, we would probably have like many totally random images, and we also want to like connect it to what we are doing here a bit better. Would be good to invite some artists to talk about their work in future live review sessions instead of in knowing other artists through process. Yeah, of course, this would be nice. I don't know if people are interested in. Of course, we also want to make like setup-wise the stream listen, sounds good, and so on. So we never know if all the artists have the equipment to join a live stream or even want this. What I can imagine is that we maybe invite some other artist friends and colleagues we have, so that we maybe have some guest artists here helping reviewing the artworks. This might be something. And the CG Boost team is also expanding, so there are at least 3 other people that might join in the future, which are also excellent artists. So we might even have more variation in faces here. So
Mr. Just in Case says, how are the 2 rock stars coming along on the guitar playing? I think he means us.
Yeah.
Well.
Like in the last stream, you said that you want to learn this.
Yeah,
this year,
I know.
right?
I bought a guitar. So,
That's the
so
first
yeah,
step.
that's the first step, right?
Yeah.
I gotta take it slow.
And it's
Yeah,
still January, right?
it's still
Yes.
Yeah.
January. So start, yeah. Yeah, I've been playing a little bit, but not as much as I thought. It's something like New Year's resolutions. Say, let's play more, and after 2 weeks, you are too busy. No, actually, I am planning to bring the guitar with me to my regular day job, and sometimes during the day, I want to, instead of running out of the computer and doing some whatever stuff, I would love to meditate with the playing, which is good break.
You
Sounds
and me
nice.
both.
Yeah.
All right, I think we are coming to a natural end here. Last chance to ask anything. Otherwise, we will
There's
finish up.
someone asking if we are going to do live critique for every challenge.
This again is something I can't promise. We want to do it. It's our plan to
Yeah.
do it. But you never know if like sickness or anything comes in the way, or maybe in the summer months there's
Yeah.
always some weeks where people are on vacation, where it might be hard to get everyone on board. But yeah, we try to do it for every challenge. We at least
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. We swear we're gonna try. Yeah.
Interesting question. Masha, are you in the outer space?
Yeah.
Justin Black needs to know.
So someone needs advice for good graphic tablets, range of $75. I think you can check out the smaller ones from either Wacom or XP Pen. I think Huion is also good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
it
don't
just
have to go with Wacom. They are relatively expensive, but the other ones are a bit cheaper, I think. And you also don't need like a huge one. So a middle size or a small size is totally enough to start with sculpting. I was using a small size tablet for years and it worked totally fine. So
yeah, I can just give my 2 cents. I'm using that Huion, which is of course not that perfect as Wacom in the terms of user experience. It works well like for sculpting and for drawing. It's just the drivers are not that user friendly like Wacom, because for Wacom you can set up your own preferences for each program. And even if you switch to Photoshop or Blender or something, you can always have a different layout for buttons. It's not that easy with the Huion, but of course the price is much lower. So I would say, as Zach said, it's up to your budget. You can do great work with a small budget or with a cheap tablet. So it's up to you. The great work can be done on really relatively cheap stuff.
Yeah, I actually had like at the beginning like a super cheap tablet. I don't even remember the name. It wasn't even something like Union or so. It was like a crap thing, but it was fine to start. I mean, if you're just starting, you can buy anything that is super cheap just to try out the things. Maybe you understand that sculpting is not even for you. In this way, you didn't even spend too much money on that. So, yeah.
someone asked, I hope that CG Boost makes a course on how to gain money from 3D arts. Well, we had one of these courses already
Yeah.
created by Ellen. Unfortunately, the interest from the community was relatively low. I believe that a lot of people dream of doing like 3D art for a living, but not everyone want to really take the steps to really do it, because it's not easy. It's hard to get in there. But yeah, unfortunately, we had to take the course down. It was not paying for itself, let's say. So yeah, but there are some YouTube channels, I think Stylized Station or something like this. They do a lot of videos about 3D, earning money through 3D and so on. So yeah, just check YouTube. There's, I think, a lot of stuff you can learn from
Yeah.
there. And sometimes you can also look for some business courses which are not related to CG, because many things, of course, apply to other areas as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What will be the next challenge? We don't know yet. We will find out later. We discussed this earlier.
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
No,
Extreme pandemic.
that's too dark.
Well,
Yeah, I guess we're all like tired of pandemic. We don't want to
Yeah.
hear that, especially
I
on a challenge.
I want Blender conference.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
was
You guys.
too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, in 2019 or something, like most of us met in real life.
Yeah.
That means we are all real.
Yeah. And Zacharias is like super tall.
Yeah. I had a serious neck pain after, looking at
Yeah.
you the whole time.
Me too,
Yeah,
falling down.
me and
Just
Martin
kidding.
was like all the time in this way. Also because the Zacharias friends from Germany, they are tall too.
And we little people, Masha, right?
Yeah.
Hello, down here.
Oh man. Yeah. So I see more and more people leaving now, so I guess we will finish this up now. Thanks everyone for joining in. I think next month we probably don't have a live stream because the next challenge just starts next month probably. So then we will see us again in March, I guess. Have a good one. See you everyone later on, and goodbye.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye guys.
Ciao.
And end it. 2 hours and 5